Live from Wrestling 911 headquarters in the Bahamas, this is SnowMan MF Jones, the PhD, no HIV. You see, SnowMan Jones here with the big G, Gargoyle. Gargoyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Talking to my main man down there, the 911 Kingpin, SnowMan Jones. We're talking about wrestling. I got a cold Heineken here, so everything's cool in the Gargoyle there.
I tell you what, man, down here, it is hot down in the islands, so I envy you being as far north as you are right now.
Yeah, tired of the rain, though. Tired of the rain.
Yeah, I hear you. So we have been continuing a series where we rank and give report cards. We give grades to all of your WWE superstars. We've made it all the way from the A's to Rosa Mendes, and now we're going to kick it off with the monster, Mr. Feed Me More, Mr. Ryback. What do you think about Ryback?
I think he sucks. I have absolutely no love for this guy whatsoever. I mean, he's physically imposing, granted, but, you know, they're trying to compare him to, like, Goldberg and all that, and he just doesn't do anything for me, period. Like you said, with the Randy Orton, you know, everybody's out there holding the Feed Me More signs and all that, and all they're doing is feeding them indie guys, pretty much, you know, and they have to job out to him. He doesn't do nothing for me. He's one of them guys who I think is just a wasted roster spot that more talented people deserve on the WWE.
You know, what's interesting about Ryback is when he came and he was training in the WWE's developmental territory, his first gimmick, he was Ryback, but he was supposed to be like Terminator 2. He would and he would move real robotic. Like when he came to the ring, it was like you know, like his bones and joints were real stiff. He had this like contact lens in where he was supposed to have kind of the Terminator 2, you know, robot eyeball and stuff like that. And he was complete knockoff of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it was such, and I know the guy. He sent me MySpace and Facebook comments, and I've talked with him before. But it was one of those gimmicks that was so bad that I loved it. Does that make sense?
No, I might have liked that, actually, as much as I'd hate to admit it, if I got to see it in person. But, you know, with the gimmick he's doing now, you know, basically he's just a Goldberg ripoff or a Rhino, the Man-Beast ripoff, you know. Nothing special, nothing spectacular. You know, there's 20 guys you could pick from the Indies with the same physique that could do the same thing that he's doing.
Yeah. Well,
in my opinion, anyway.
His next gimmick, and I'm going to tell some of these stories just so people know a little bit, you know, some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that maybe I know that maybe not everyone knows. But his next gimmick was a football player gimmick, which I think was more him being him, and I forget his real name, but it was this football player gimmick. And he would, you know, do a bunch of drills like you saw Kevin Green back in WCW would do. And that was an equally bad gimmick. And now he's in the WWE, and they're pushing him like Goldberg. And it's funny because when he was training, those first two gimmicks never really got over with the crowd. And all of a sudden, they just moved him to the WWE and pushed him like Goldberg completely because of his size. And frankly, I remember it was December 2000-ish. He came out and he gave a great personal speech. Like he came out, he had a microphone in hand, there was only maybe 100 of us in the audience, and he said, you know what, my goal this year is to put on 40 pounds of muscle, make it to the WWE, and really entertain you guys. And it was really, I'm not doing it justice, but it was a very heartfelt speech. I gained a lot of respect for the guy. I've taken pictures of him, sent them back and forth. He's been very thankful. So I'm glad he's getting a good push because I like him. But in terms of gimmicks and things, I don't know that he deserves it any more than a Zeus deserved his gimmick push, any more than Viscera or Mabel when he first got his WWE Championship push against Diesel, any more than he deserved it, any more than Kevin Nash. And it was based on his size. I get that. And, you know, I'm fine with that as a fan, but I completely respect where someone else would say, yeah, I'm not buying it.
Exactly. You know, and also you have the personal involvement where they're knowing the guy a little more personally than, say, I do or your average fan, which makes you want to root for the guy to make it to the top more. I can understand that too, but to me, he's just another one of those cookie cutter guys that, you know, you could stick any 10 people with the same physique and they could do the same job.
Right. So,
maybe they'll let him expand his character a little more. You know, right now it's just, feed me more, you know.
Yeah, it's a knockoff of Goldberg. I don't even like the feed me more. I like the who's next, but I never got the feed me more aspect of it. And now I remember his name was.
Because there's no stars on the roster for him. I mean.
Say that again.
I said, feed me more indie guys because they're not going to give him anybody of quality on the WWE roster. You know, make him job out to Ryback. So.
Well, I kind of like that sometimes because, when you're making indie guys job out, at least the indie guys are getting a spot on the card, and I'm not seeing the same match over and over between, wrestlers that I've seen wrestle 100 times. So even if it's bringing back someone who's wrestled 5 years ago with the WWE, at least it's a fresh face. So I kind of like that aspect.
That's true, and any given chance for an indie guy to get on TV, you never know. He might have that good outing and impress Vince and the talent scouts there, and might actually get a shot to be on the WWE and get into NXT or whatever and be the next superstar. Who knows? I'm all about giving the indie guys a shot. That is the one aspect of the gimmick that I do like.
Well, and maybe we'll just stick with Ryback for this episode because we're already 7 minutes into it and we can stray a little bit on the conversation. But it was Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy that kind of started as jobbers, and they both wound up world championship quality. So maybe that's not a bad thing. Bill Goldberg, his first appearance in the WCW, he jobbed to Roddy Piper in a boxing match, if you recall that kind of a tough man contest. Right. So sometimes there is some benefit to indie guys getting their ass kicked. You remember when Mr. Fantasy from the Gulf Coast got kicked in the face by Kane? That's got to be good for a Mr. Fantasy. At least he gets his chance to be in the WWE for a moment.
And then he had Bobby Dahl in the bar fight in New Orleans there with the APA. There's video of that, so hey, any chance you can get to be on TV, for an indie guy, even if it's 5 seconds or a minute, it's only going to benefit your career.
I forgot about Bobby Dahl and the APA getting beat up. I loved that gimmick. What did you think of that gimmick?
What, the APA?
Yeah, the APA just kicking everyone's ass in a bar every week.
Oh, I loved it, man. That was one of my favorites.
How many times did you? I forget what Farouk called it. He used to almost pick people up in the like a razor's edge. I can't remember if it was him or JBL, and just toss them onto tables like that. And absolutely loved that. Those guys. That was a gimmick I'd love to see repeated. Is either the APA gimmick where they were enforcers, or the 3-minute warning gimmick where they came out after 3 minutes and just beat the shit out of people that were boring.
Absolutely.
So going back to Ryback, and he wrestled under the name Skip Sheffield. His real name's Ryan Reeves. He's 31 years old, and he was one of the 8 finalists in Tough Enough #4. I think it was under the name Skip Sheffield that I remember him, because he came in as Ryback, we called him the gay robot Ryback. And then he was Skip Sheffield. He came out with a football gimmick, which was getting there. He was building his personality, and then, did Tough Enough, NXT, whatever you called it at the time frame, and eventually turned into this monster. What's your thoughts on the whole NXT concept? Because it did seem like, to me, you had guys who had the potential, but they fed them to NXT, embarrassed them on TV, then it's really hard for them to get over as a serious competitor. You take these guys like Eli Cottonwood and you make him cut a stupid promo, you're never going to get that guy over after that. You're going to have, there's lots of those cases where these guys, they come on, make fools of themselves during NXT, and then it's hard to get a career after that.
This is true. That's one of the things I don't understand about Vince McMahon. For a guy who's made so much money and been so successful, some of the decisions that he makes just boggle my mind, and that's one of them. You figure they would have NXT and use it to build the next generation of stars for the WWE instead of stupid things like that. It baffles me.
Right. Okay, so overall, I'm going to give Ryback, Skip Sheffield, Ryan Reeves, I'm going to give him a B overall. Charisma's probably C++, but he's getting there. Overall athletic ability, I'm giving him a B+. And since I like him, I get A+ as a person, as behind the scenes, and it seems like he listens. You know, he's got that football background where he comes to training every day, he'll do 2-a-days, he'll work out in the gym every day. He's not going to question people, so I'm giving him a solid B. Where do you rank him?
I, myself, just because I don't have the personal insight as you, just strictly as a fan, seeing him on TV, I give him a C- because he, you know, like Randy Orton for you, he just doesn't do anything for me. I don't get excited when he's coming out there because, you know, I can pretty much predict what's going to happen, and, you know, that just spoils it.
Right, fair enough.
You know, so I'll give him a C because he's got look, he's got ability. I think it's just going to take more time for him to develop the gimmick and maybe get a little more charisma into his gimmick. So I'll give him a solid C.
You know, I think if you wouldn't offend me if you gave him a D, and I think you probably would have given him a D.
No, I won't because, you know, like I said, the dude has ability, and he's just not
there yet.
The right opportunity to show it.
Right. He probably could use 8 years in the indies before he made it to WWE, frankly.
Right.
Okay. Well, that brings the end of this show. Again, we have the Gargoyle from FrontRowFanatics.com. Super fan, all-around great guy, and hardcore icon. I'm SnowMan Jones. You're going to catch us together on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/911wrestling or Front Row Fanatics 2. Check you guys later.